So it'll be more like number 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So when I ask you to take a look at 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, those are all written in slope-intercept form. And what I'm going to ask you on the quiz is I'm going to say, all right, when I look at number 2, tell me the slope, which our slope would be what? -3. And we might even write it -3/1, especially if I ask you to graph. And you'd probably write the word rise over run. And then I'd ask you what's the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is 0 or 0, 0. So on the quiz today, when you are taking a look at this, I'm going to ask you these two things, and then I'm going to ask you to make a graph of that. Okay? So are there any questions as you look through 9 about telling the slope or the y-intercept as you look at those? 10 through 14. On the quiz today, I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and I'm going to ask you, besides telling me the slope and the y-intercept, I'm going to say write the equation. Anytime you see write an equation, that means y equals the mx plus b. So if I am looking at this one, and I look at number, I'm looking at number 11. In number 11, I'll see, what is my y-intercept? What is my b? -1. It is always the point, when you take a look at these, that is on the y line. It is never on the x. So I had people today on their quiz telling me or putting the y-intercept over at this point 1. It is at 0, -1. Slope for this one, as I am looking at it. Nick, what would you say our slope is in number 11?
Slope would be 2 over 1.
2 over 1 in number 11?
He said 2 over 2 or
2 over 2? Okay. 2 over 2. I want up 2 and over 2. I could go with that. But if I'm simplifying it, 2 divided by 2 actually equals 1. Okay? And again, keeping in mind the rise over run. So if on the quiz today I asked you these 2 things, the last question I'm going to ask you from the graph is to write the equation. So it would be y equals 1x minus 1 for my final answer. You did not have to do these on here. You only had to tell me the slope and y-intercept. Questions on 15, 16, or 17 on finding slope or y-intercept, especially those tables, Aaron.
Okay, just to be sure, for the equations that are mine, like, what's the m is the, what you would call it?
The m is the slope or the rise over run, how you are moving on the graph.
And the x is like,
The x is just a variable, slope is just that ratio of numbers. Slope will never have an x with it, so if I ask you the question, what is the slope, and you write 1x here, I have to mark it wrong. Slope is just 1, or 2 over 2, but it's not 1x.
oh,
Even though the equation has an x in the equation, okay?
the x is
Here,
x.
if I ask you what the y-intercept is, it's where it crosses the y-axis.
So the x is x.
X is just to let me know that it's a slanted line, right? Whereas this one, the equation is y equals 3, because it's 0x, because y equals 0x plus 3, or y equals 3. There's no x in it. There's still straight lines, but the slope was 0, so it's horizontal. This question did not ask you to write an equation. It said, tell me the slope and tell me the y-intercept. That's what they asked here. But I just want to look at your tables, because I know some of you haven't done them, and I just want to answer any questions on how do you find the slope. Did you have a question on the tables? Do you want to pick one that we do? 17. So as I'm taking a look at number 17, in 17, all of these, to find the slope m, you are looking at the change in y divided by change in x. So if I'm looking at the change in y, as I go down this table, how is my y changing? We are subtracting 1. So my change in y is -1. If you don't have your table filled in, make sure you're writing this. Then I'm going to look at how did my x change. Well, my x is over here, and that's changing by a positive 1, right? So So if I asked what is the slope in table 17, you'd say the slope is negative m equals -1. I now need to find the b point. In the table, sometimes you love when I give you the 0, but this one didn't have the 0. So you gotta go back and go 2, 1, 0. So if I was subtracting 1 each time I go down, this was a -1, I'm gonna go back up, and so at 2 it has to be adding 1. So at 2 it's gonna be 11, 12, 13. So B is 13. You can figure it out other ways too, but you gotta find the 0, okay? The 0 is the y-intercept. But these all gave you the y-intercept, because I gave you the 0. When x is 0, what is the y, okay? As you look at your graphs, questions on these, your quiz is gonna look like this. I'll give you a graph and ask you to write an equation, yeah.
24.
So 24. If I'm looking at 24, first thing I'm going to ask you to identify for me is the B. The B is on the Y line. On the Y line, you tell me, Brecca, it is what? 0, 4. Next thing we're going to identify is our M. I need to pick 2 points on my line, so at 4, looks like I could go over to this point here, and I'm going down 2. And I'm going over 3. So I'm going to write the word rise over 1. I'm going to go -2 over 3. And now I'm going to write my equation. Instead of m, I'm going to put -2/3, because that was what m is equal to. X, because it's a slanted line, plus 4 is my b. Question?
Will we get dot points on the quiz if we don't do rise or run?
Nope.
Will we get dot
But I had someone in one of my classes earlier say, that's not fair, in the quiz you didn't tell me to write rise over run, so I got it wrong because I thought it was this. I'm like, I don't know, every time in your homework I write it, so how you do your homework is gonna help you. I'm just gonna ask you for this, and I'm gonna look for this, and I'm gonna look for the equation.
And that has to be in parentheses under the
I would prefer it, but I'll probably give you credit either way. Okay? Alright. So, please turn to this next page with 25, 26, 27, and 28. My guess is that I was looking, there's a lot of you that didn't do that page. Oh, I didn't realize I was a part of it. So, I just want to make sure that you know that here you were asked to draw 2 different sized triangles. You will see a question just like this on your test. And it says, they tell you that the slope is the same, and they need you to prove it. So they need you to draw the 2 triangles. So like maybe this is one of your triangles right here, where you have this one, and you're going to tell me rise over run. And then maybe you make this triangle over here. It goes like this. And you tell me rise over run on that one. Okay? So same thing here. You're going to make a small triangle. And then you're going to make a larger triangle. I don't know which ones you're using. You can use any of them. But you need to show me the slope of the small equaling the rise over run, and then you need to show me the slope of the large one. And they tell you that they are going to be the same. And they just ask, why are they going to be the same after you find those slopes? Okay? On the bottom, when you take a look at 27 and 28, they tell you that these are not the same ratio or slope. So you have to do these 2 triangles. Here's one, and like this is another one. Someone was like trying to make this one great big triangle. It doesn't work that way because it's not a straight line, right? So when you are looking at those, okay? Please turn to page 70 and if you are going to read for me, Jackson, if you would please. On the top, the 3 steps of writing a linear equation.
Writing linear equation from the graph. Step 1. Find 2 points on the line. 3x slope between 2 points. Step 2. Find the y-intercept or start point on the y-axis. Name the existing line. Step 3. Using slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b is right.
So they are giving you the steps in every single one of these. So when you come back to me and go, Mrs. Thompson, I don't understand this, I'm going to ask you, did you find 2 points on your line? Nope, I didn't do that, okay? Do step 1. Put 2 points on your line. Next, find the y-intercept on the y-axis. Oh, on the y-axis? Yep, on the y-axis. Tell me where that number was that it crossed, okay? Next step, you are going to tell me the m, or the rate of change, right? Just like we've been doing. So for each one of these, they are going to give you the steps to follow. You're going to get your 2 points. You're going to find the m, which is your rise over run. You're going to find the b, and then you're going to write your answer as y equals mx plus b. Every single one tells you to finish with this last thing, okay? If we take a look over at the next page, if you turn to that next, look at the top of the next page with the tables. If you would please read as we're looking at that one, Alexander. Read step 1, 2, 3.
Step 1. Determine what slope the rate is for the y values. What is y changing by for every x? Be careful, you are finding what y is changing by for every 1x.
Keep going.
Step 2. Find the y percent or start point. This is what the y value is when x is 0. You may have to expand the table. Step 3. Using slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Write the equation.
So I just want you to put in all your x's. You're going to notice mine up here are always in red or pink. All of those are your x's on your table. Put it with each one. It says R and T. Use X. Then we're going to put the y's are going to be blue. Okay, so when you look at this, the y's are going to be blue, right? So why do I want to differentiate the colors for you? Because when you go to find here the slope, it's always the change in y divided by the change in x. We're going to do number 8 together because 8 doesn't give you a 0 in the table. So our answer is still going to be, when I finish number 8, I want to get the answer to be y equals blank x plus blank. Y equals the mx plus b. The first thing I'm going to do is find the slope. This is how you find your slope. You find the change in y over the change in x. Then you look for the y value when x is 0. There is no 0 in this table, so add in a 0, okay? So, change in y. We were doing that in blue. Change in y. What would you tell me how my y values are changing from one to the next? As I look at that, let's see what's happening. It's going up 5. So I'm going to put a positive 5, okay? Next, I'm going to look at my x's and how they are changing. And here's where people make the most common mistake, is that they see the x's first, so they just put them on top. So you just got to make sure you always put those x's on the bottom. So if I'm looking at that, Maddie, what would we have for how our x's are changing? Plus 1. So m is 5, right? 5 over 1 is just 5. That's my slope. But I need to go back and find that 0 point. So if I was adding 5 each time to go back from 7, I'm going to subtract 5, right? Subtracting 5 gives me 2. Now that I have 0, I can write in my 2. Okay? So when you take a look at these, that's what you're looking at. Oh, so this table needs a 0? This one does not, right? This is nice. This one needs a 0. This one needs a 0. Oh, how nice. We got a 0. We got zeros. So if they give you the 0, that is your y-intercept. You don't have to do anything. To find your slope, you have to find the change in y divided by the change in x. Okay? I need someone to read my steps on the top of this next page, which are equations. Tanner, go.
Read the entire question. Determine what the constant rate of change in the situation. The rate of change is the slope. Determine where the data is starting. The starting point of the data is a y-intercept. Using slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, write the equation.
So if we read number 15, Adrian, the mighty T-Shop, You wanna read that for us about my new t-shirt company?
Marcus T-shirt company charges an upfront $49 setup fee plus $3 per shirt. Write a linear equation that will calculate the cost y of number of shirt steps.
What do you guys think the rate of change is, or my slope? Which one makes sense, the 49 or the 3? The 3, because it's per what? Per shirt, it's a unit rate. So when you look at these, look for the ones with the word per. That's trying to tell you your slope. So in this case, we're gonna have the slope is 3. If I know that, how much did I have to pay up front? If I'm looking at it, max. What would you say?
What?
How much did we have to pay up front when they told us? $40, how much?
Oh, 49.
$3 or 49?
49.
49, that's my y-intercept. So I have b and I have m, I can write my equation, Emily, it would be, yes. Once I have this, we have to describe what the slope means. In this question, the slope means we are getting $3 per t-shirt, right? What does the y-intercept mean? The y-intercept means that we had to pay $49 is what we had to pay up front. Wow. Just to have them put my design. So I must be gonna make quite a few shirts, right? Because if I was just doing one, they might just charge me maybe $10 a shirt. But this one is an upfront fee plus that.
Wow.
Where you're gonna find all of these answers are at Google Classroom, okay? To take the test next week on Tuesday, you must have 13, 14, 15. Some of you will finish 13 today. Can you start working on 14 and 15? Everything is review from now on. We are going to be doing a Desmos activity on Friday, but on Wednesday and Thursday, you're going to be picking your shoulder program. As you look at this last page, writing equations, this is going to be exactly what one of the questions on your quiz today looks like. So as you are looking at 20 through 23, are there any questions on how to first identify the slope and the y-intercept? So find your m, which is your rise over run. We've already done a couple of these. Tell me your b, and then plot those points, and then draw your line. So are there any questions as I look at that last part? Key thing today on the quiz, I would keep in mind what is a positive and a negative slope. So if it helps you, you know, to draw that face, positive, negative, when you get the quiz. Keeping in mind the word rise over run, and that B means begin. B is where you begin on your graph, okay? So as you are looking at those.